The Amazing Spider-Man is an amazing movie, as the title would suggest. It is amazingly good, amazingly bad, and amazingly cringe. I mean, maybe that's a bit too much amazing, but you get the point. So this is not your normal Spider-Man story, guys. This is a very different story. The untold story, as this movie was advertised as, which it obviously isn't, because it is exactly the same story we've heard and seen 100 times, and literally did the same thing in the Sam Raimi trilogy.
And what are we looking at here?
We're looking at
The same goddamn movie, but worse. However, this time, Peter Parker is high all the time.
Do you ever look at someone and wonder what is going on inside their head?
Gwen Stacy is the love interest of this movie instead of MJ, and in my opinion is the real Lizard of this movie. I mean, look at those eyes. By the way, these guys are all fully grown adults, so the fact that they thought that they could put these guys in a high school and make it Spider-Man just was never going to really work out, was it? I must save this to my creepy collection of Gwen Stacy photos. So to start off this movie, we have to get something out of the way. And that is Uncle Ben, unfortunately. Uncle Ben dies in this movie, guys. Massive spoilers, I'm sorry. You might not have seen this one coming after he's died in every single Spider-Man movie and franchise, but he does die in this movie.
No, God! No, God, please, no!
And he dies the exact same way. Douchey Peter Parker. Just being an asshole, not being the right guy. Just look at this.
Hey, man, stop! Somebody stop that guy! Hey, kids, little help?
Not my policy.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
I see no difference. Also, before Ben dies, he has exactly the same speech, pretty much. They just reworded it differently to try and, make it sound different, but it's pretty much the same.
Believe that if you could do good
What the hell is this grandpa talking about?
people, you had a moral obligation to do those things. That's what's at stake here. Not choice, responsibility.
Wait a minute, I think I've heard something like that before.
Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
I prefer really not to speak.
I mean, how ironic. A guy called Mark Webb, the director of this movie, can't make a good Spider-Man movie. Like, why was he trying to get around that line so hard? Like, just, we know what he was trying to say. Just say it, don't try and reword it. It makes you sound even stupider. Okay, now I've gotten over that. Let's talk about more things that are terrible about this movie. No.
Man, I'm finna wait
Yeah,
this home.
unfortunately, the next thing is Spider-Man's suit. This suit was awful. They changed it for the next movie, which is great, but unfortunately, it just didn't look right in this movie. The eyes were just really weird, and the web swing, I will say, was amazing in this movie, and probably even better than the recent Homecoming and Far From Home movies, and the originals. But other than that, yeah, the suit didn't look too cool in some scenes and was a bit disappointing in moments. But what he did with it was very cool. And him as Spider-Man was actually like a good character. When Andrew Garfield was in the suit, he was cool. I think it wasn't really his fault that, the direction of the movie was bad and the directing. But yeah, him as Peter Parker was a bit weird. But him as Spider-Man was really good. And when he had those quippy moments, which he had like one or two, then he was just a really good Spider-Man.
In the future, if you're gonna steal cars, don't dress like a car thief.
So yeah, in my opinion, the best part about this movie was this car thief scene where he's just playing around with him, and that's the only time he's like that. And in Spider-Man 2, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, he does a few of those moments, but yeah, the villains in that are so bad that it doesn't even make up for it.
That I developed myself. I don't think you really want to know.
Come on, let me go!
One second.
Stop, get off, man! No!
But the truest part about this scene has got to be this policeman. I mean, American Cops, am I right? He pulls a gun out straight away and just starts firing like, this is too real. So now we've kind of trashed on a bit the story of this movie and Spider-Man the character. Let's look at this terrible villain we've got right now, who is Lizard. So Dr. Kirk Connors is the Lizard, and he has only one arm, and he's trying to grow the other one back, but instead he makes a serum which turns him into a lizard, and then for some reason decides that he wants to turn everyone else into a lizard. And as you can tell, there is no motivation behind this, and there is no reason for this. So yeah, he is therefore just a trash villain, because there's no development to his character. Now, can we take a minute to talk about Spider-Man pole dancing in the subway? Wait, that sounded a bit sus. I meant Spider-Man when he starts webbing everything up because he can't use his web properly. The scene was just so stupid. Like, it's one of those silly scenes that the director, like Mark Webb, would make. But yeah, he already had that scene with the toothpaste and the door handle and smashing things. Like, we've all seen that before. He's like, oh, I'm too powerful. But then suddenly they're like, oh, let's go into a subway, rip off a woman's shirt, that's funny, and, pretty much sexual assault, and assault a bunch of people, and then say, oh, it's okay, I'm Spider-Man, I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah, this movie just goes through the many stages of the Peter Parker personality. We have Bully Parker, you have Douche Parker, you have Assault Parker, otherwise known as Pole Dancing Parker, and none of them are just like Peter Parker, like, Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker, who is just a complete nerd. So yeah, I think the biggest problem with this Spider-Man, or more particularly this Peter Parker, is the fact that Andrew Garfield is just too cool. Another mention for a scene that I actually did enjoy was when Peter had just, Uncle Ben had just died and he went to school the next day and was obviously like the one that had the grey cloud over his head, and he got back at Flash for being a bully, and that was quite good.
Hey, Parker.
Not today, Flash.
Hey, come on, man. I just want to talk.
But other than that, this movie isn't that great. I mean, if you like romantic stuff, which is kind of weird, or kind of creepy stuff, then it kind of is a romance movie, to be honest. But yeah, it's not a Spider-Man movie, definitely. This director messed up big time. I feel bad for Andrew Garfield, because in Hacksaw Ridge and a bunch of other stuff, he is a great actor. But yeah, this movie is a meme in so many ways. But not as much as a meme as my favorite Spider-Man movie.
Pizza time.
We're in love. That's just the drugs. Don't they make you feel numb? You can't feel it all. Maybe if we loved ourselves, it wouldn't be so hard. Wouldn't be so hard to love each other. I don't think we're in love.